July 27, 1890, France. A man walks into a wheat field, alone. He has his easel with him, his paints, his brushes, the same tools he has carried every single day for the last 10 years. And then, a gunshot. One single shot, somewhere in that field. The man staggers back into the village, holding his stomach, climbing the stairs of the inn where he lives. The owner sees him and asks, "Is everything okay?" The man pulls back his shirt, shows a wound near his heart, and says, "I tried to kill myself." 2 days later, Vincent Van Gogh is dead, age 37. But here is where the story gets complicated, because nobody actually saw what happened in that field. No witnesses, no gun found nearby. The angle of the bullet wound, forensic experts say, is almost impossible to be self-inflicted. He had a letter in his pocket that day, not a suicide note, a regular letter to his brother, full of plans, full of hope. So what really happened in that wheat field? Did Vincent Van Gogh choose to die? Or did someone make that choice for him? And if someone shot him, why did he spend his last 2 days on Earth protecting them? To answer that, you have to go back to the beginning, to a little boy in Holland who just wanted to be loved. Netherlands, 1853. Vincent Willem van Gogh is born into a pastor's family. His father, Theodorus van Gogh, was a strict religious man, quiet, formal, distant. His mother, Anna, was cold in the way that some mothers are cold. Not cruel, just absent, even when she was standing right there. And Vincent, from the very beginning, was too much, too intense, too emotional, too sensitive. He felt everything at full volume, joy at full volume, pain at full volume. And in a family that kept everything at a whisper, Vincent never quite fit. He grew up restless, moved from city to city. At 16, he started working at an art dealership called Goupil & C. He was good at it, actually. Charming, knowledgeable, passionate. By 20, he was transferred to London. And for a moment, things felt almost right. He fell in love with his landlady's daughter, Eugenia, told her everything he felt, the way only Vincent could, completely, desperately, without holding anything back. She told him she was already engaged to someone else. Vincent didn't recover from that. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, became obsessed with religion instead, started carrying a Bible everywhere, quoting scripture to customers at work. Goupil fired him. He tried to become a pastor like his father, failed the entrance exam, tried to become a missionary instead, went to the coal mining region of Belgium, the Borinage, to live among the poorest workers. He gave away everything he owned, his food, his clothes, his bed, slept on the floor, ate almost nothing, tried to live exactly like the people he was serving. The church looked at this man and said he was too extreme, too radical, too emotional. They removed him from his position. Vincent had now failed at art dealing, failed at being a pastor, failed at being a missionary. He was 27 years old, no career, no money, no direction. And his family was quietly losing hope. But his brother Theo never lost hope. Theo Van Gogh was everything Vincent wasn't: stable, practical, successful. He had risen to become a prominent art dealer in Paris, and he loved his brother, completely, without condition. In 1880, Theo made Vincent a promise. He would send him a monthly allowance, so Vincent could paint. Just paint, nothing else. It was the most generous thing anyone had ever done for Vincent, and it destroyed him slowly. Because Vincent, who felt everything at full volume, felt the weight of that generosity every single day. He was a grown man, being kept alive by his younger brother. He promised himself he would repay every single franc through his paintings. He sent Theo painting after painting after painting. Theo tried to sell them. Paris looked at them and turned away. One painting, in his entire lifetime. Vincent Van Gogh sold one single painting, The Red Vineyard, for 400 francs. That's it. The man whose paintings would one day sell for hundreds of millions of dollars sold exactly one canvas while he was alive. But he kept painting, because it was the only language he had, the only way to say what he couldn't say out loud. He painted with a fury that no one around him understood. In the last 2 years of his life, he created over 900 paintings. That is more than one painting per day. Every sunrise he painted, every wheat field, every night sky, every pair of worn-out boots, every face that would sit still long enough. He painted because the alternative was silence, and silence, for Vincent, was the darkest place of all. He moved to Arles in the south of France, rented a small yellow house, dreamed of starting an artist colony, a community of painters living and working together. He invited Paul Gauguin, the only other painter he truly admired. And for 2 months, it was almost what he had dreamed of. 2 brilliant minds in one small house, creating, arguing, pushing each other. And then it collapsed, the way everything in Vincent's life collapsed, suddenly, violently. They argued about art, about life, about everything. Gauguin threatened to leave, and something in Vincent, already so fragile, broke completely. On the night of December 23, 1888, Vincent cut off part of his own ear with a razor, wrapped it in cloth, and delivered it to a woman at a local brothel. Nobody knows exactly why. Nobody knows what was happening inside his mind that night. The police found him the next morning, unconscious, bleeding, nearly dead. He was taken to a psychiatric hospital, and here is where the story becomes something else entirely. Because inside that hospital, inside those white walls, Vincent painted some of the most beautiful images the world has ever seen. The Starry Night, created inside an asylum, from the window of his room. He looked out at the night sky and saw something nobody else could see. Stars that swirled and breathed, a sky that moved like water, light that had weight and texture. And he put it on canvas. The most famous painting in human history, created by a man locked inside a psychiatric ward, alone, looking out a window, wishing he was somewhere else. He was released after a year, moved to Auvers-sur-Oise, a small village north of Paris, came under the care of Dr. Paul Gauguin, and for a moment, things felt lighter. He was painting again, writing optimistic letters to Theo, making plans. But underneath, the darkness was always there, waiting. He worried constantly about Theo. Theo had recently married, had a new baby son, named him Vincent Willem after his brother. But Theo was also having problems at work, financial pressure, health problems. And Vincent, who carried the weight of Theo's generosity every single day, now carried something worse. The fear that he was destroying his brother's life, that he was a burden too heavy to carry, that the kindest thing he could do was disappear. July 27th, 1890. He picks up his easel, walks into the wheat field, and then the gunshot. The mystery that has never been solved. Here is what we know. The wound was near his stomach, not his head. An unusual place for a suicide. No gun was found at the scene. He walked back to the inn himself, which is almost impossible for someone who has just shot themselves at close range. The letter in his pocket was not a goodbye. Here is what some researchers believe happened. A teenage boy named René Secretan had been tormenting Vincent for weeks, mocking him, playing pranks on him. He owned a gun. That afternoon, something happened between them in the field. The gun went off, maybe intentionally, maybe accidentally, and Vincent, lying in the grass with a bullet in his stomach, made a decision. He would not name the boy. He would take the blame. His last act of kindness, to protect someone who had hurt him. The Secretan family left the village the very next morning. René's gun was never seen again. Theo arrived at his brother's bedside, held his hand for 15 hours. Vincent's last words, "This is how I wanted to go." And then he was gone. Theo was destroyed, completely broken. 6 months later, Theo Van Gogh was also dead. The two brothers, who had written each other hundreds of letters, who had shared every thought, every fear, every dream, were buried side by side, in the same cemetery, in Auvers-sur-Oise. And here is the final thing. When Vincent died in 1890, almost nobody knew his name. He had sold one painting. He had no money. He had no fame. He died believing he had wasted his life, believing he had been a burden, believing his work meant nothing. Today, his paintings are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The Starry Night, created in an asylum, is one of the most recognized images in human history. Sunflowers, bedroom in Arles, irises, every single one, priceless. And Vincent never knew. He died in the dark, not knowing that the light he had been painting his whole life was his own. The world wasn't ready for him while he was here. It spent the next 100 years trying to catch up. And it still hasn't.